if you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. People have this idea about the dark web, that it's all assassins for hire, black market kidneys, and creepy hitmen in chat rooms. And don't get me wrong, there's darkness there. But there are worse things, hidden deeper, things that aren't looking for money, things that are looking for you. It started with boredom. I was 17, living in a dead-end town where nothing happened except bad weather and worse choices. You could only binge so much YouTube or scroll so far down Reddit before you started getting curious. I fell down the rabbit hole. Tor browsers, onion links, VPNs. Pretty soon, I was knee-deep in stuff people only whispered about. Most of it was fake. Black market sites that were half-finished scams, creepy forums filled with edgy teenagers pretending to be serial killers. Garbage. But then, I found something different. Something I wasn't supposed to see. It was buried 6 pages down in a forum dedicated to extreme media. No description, no flashy graphics, just a blood red hyperlink. Live Red Room, entry by invitation only. Something about it felt real. There was a timer underneath. Next stream, 2:53 AM GMT. I should have closed the tab. I should have unplugged my computer, thrown it in the river, moved to another continent. Instead, I set an alarm. At 2:52 AM, the page changed. A black screen. A blinking red dot in the centre, then a grainy video feed spluttered to life. I expected violence, screaming, blood, a poor soul tied to a chair, begging for mercy. That's what the legend said, right? But the screen didn't show that. It showed a room, ordinary, a plain, square room with grey concrete walls, a single bare mattress in the centre, no windows, no doors, just a room. At first, nothing happened. Then a person appeared. They didn't walk in, they just were there suddenly. A man, early 20s maybe, thin, wearing a hoodie and jeans. He looked around, confused. His mouth moved, but there was no sound, like the feed had been muted. He tried the walls, pushed, scraped, no exit. He started shouting, still no sound. Then the lights dimmed and the room shifted. The walls began to pulse, the ceiling stretched higher, the mattress melted into the floor. The man dropped to his knees, clutching his head. The camera zoomed closer. His face twisted, not with pain, with recognition. He knew where he was, and worse, he knew there was no way out. The screen glitched, and for a second, just a second, I saw text flash across the screen. Room 44, status, accepted observer. Observer? Me? I was part of it now. Another figure appeared in the corner of the room. Same instant arrival, but this one wasn't human. It was tall, slender, its arms stretched nearly to the ground, its head tilted at an impossible angle, its skin wrong, not rotting, not burnt, just wrong, like something that had never seen the sun trying to wear a human shape. The man backed into a corner, sobbing, silent on my screen. The thing followed. It didn't rush, it didn't need to, it just stood over him, and slowly, impossibly slowly, leaned down, face to face. The man tried to scream, tried to run, but the moment their skin touched, he froze, locked in place, like his bones had been turned to stone. And then, the worst part, he smiled. A wide, slow, unnatural smile that split his face nearly to the ears. And then the lights went out. I closed the window, slammed my laptop shut, heart hammering against my ribs. I told myself it was fake, CGI, some twisted horror project. But when I opened my eyes, my room was different. Subtle things, my posters were torn, the carpet was damp, my reflection in the black screen of my laptop was smiling when I wasn't. Then I heard it, a faint tapping coming from inside my wardrobe, a slow, deliberate knock, 3 taps, then pause, 3 taps, and a voice whispered from the darkness, "Observer 44, your room is ready." I moved a week later. I left everything behind. New town, new name, no internet for months. But it didn't matter. They found me. They always do. Because it's not about the stream. It's not about the dark web. It's about where you are when you see it. Once you watch, your room becomes part of their rooms. You belong to them. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But the other night, I woke up at 2:53 a.m. and the walls of my new flat, they were breathing. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. Some things aren't meant to be played. Some things aren't even meant to be found. I learned that the hard way, and if you're smart, you'll listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Because the thing about Endgame is, once you start, you don't really get to stop, not unless it decides you're done. It started as a rumour, a thread buried deep in an old gaming forum, half deleted, archived by some paranoid mod. No links, no screenshots, just whispers. About a game that could only be accessed through a special key on the dark web, a game called Endgame. No one agreed on what it was. Some said it was a psychological experiment. Some said it was a recruitment tool for some secret society. Others said it was a curse. Play to the end and you get a reward beyond imagining. Fail and you disappear. I thought it was all BS until someone sent me the key, an anonymous email, subject line, "You're invited." No message, just an attachment, a text file containing an onion link and a warning. Only play once, only play alone, never ever quit midway. It didn't look like much at first, a black screen, white text, a single prompt. "Welcome, player 44, ready to begin?" I hesitated, only for a second, then I typed Y. The screen blinked and the first level loaded. It was just a corridor, pixelated, old school graphics, like something from a 90s horror game. I walked down the hallway, doors on either side, flickering lights overhead. Simple enough, except the doors. They weren't random, they were familiar. One had the number from my childhood bedroom, another had a wallpaper pattern from my grandmother's house. Small details only I would know. The further I went, the worse it got. The game knew things it shouldn't. The music I listened to at 14, the name of my first pet, the smell of my dad's aftershave. It wasn't just reading my files, it was reading me. Eventually, I reached a fork in the hallway, 2 doors, one marked truth, one marked escape. I chose escape. The game laughed at me, not text, real laughter, from my speakers, low, distorted, but unmistakably my own voice. The screen glitched, words appeared burning themselves across the pixels. There is no escape. The corridor stretched on, rooms blinked into existence, snapshots of my life. The park where I broke my arm at 6 years old, the kitchen where my mother screamed into the sink, the hospital room where my grandfather died, all perfectly recreated, all empty, all waiting. I don't know how long I played. Time lost meaning. My phone battery died, my laptop charger melted, but I couldn't stop. Something in the game wouldn't let me. Finally, I reached a door marked Final Moment. The game asked me, upload your ending, upload your death, become part of us. And there was a button, accept, decline. I declined. Of course I did. I slammed the laptop shut, ripped out the battery, smashed the screen, breathing hard, cold sweat pouring down my spine. But the damage was already done. That night, I noticed my phone camera was on. No apps open, no notifications, just the front camera recording me silently as I slept. The next morning, there were hundreds of new files in my gallery. Photos, videos of me, sleeping, twitching, staring blankly at the walls I didn't recognize. Sometimes, other people were in the frame. Figures in the shadows, leaning over me, watching, waiting. The worst part? Some of the photos were dated days before I ever played the game. I smashed the phone, burned the laptop, moved across the country, cut ties with everyone, but it didn't matter. Sometimes at night, I hear it. That low, distorted laugh from inside my walls, from the other side of the mirrors, from the corners of empty rooms. Last week, someone slipped an envelope under my door. Inside was a USB stick and a note written in my own handwriting. Welcome back, player 44. You never finished. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it, but the next time I blink, I don't think I'll open my eyes again. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. Desperation makes you stupid. I was living on instant noodles, 2 months behind on rent, and staring down the barrel of eviction when I found the ad. It wasn't on Indeed, it wasn't even on Reddit. It was buried in a private dark web forum for unconventional employment opportunities. The post was simple: black background, white text, no contact info, no description, just wanted, reliable courier, no experience necessary, high pay, same day payment, discretion expected, and at the bottom, apply here. I should have closed the tab, I should have walked away, but I clicked. An auto reply came within seconds. No names, no video calls, just a series of questions sent as plain text. Are you available tonight? Are you willing to travel alone? Are you willing to perform tasks without full disclosure? Will you accept that once you begin, you cannot stop? The money offered was absurd, more than I'd make in a year, enough to fix everything. I typed yes to every question. The final message just said, stand by, instructions will follow, midnight. The address they sent was on the outskirts of the city, an abandoned warehouse district, the kind of place you only see in crime dramas and urban legends. I parked where they told me, alone, nothing but rows of crumbling brick buildings and broken street lamps flickering overhead. At exactly midnight, a black van pulled up, no plates, the side door slid open. A man in a grey hoodie and jeans stepped out, holding a brown paper package the size of a shoebox. His face was wrong, not that it was deformed, it was unfinished, like someone had started sculpting him out of clay and then gotten bored halfway through. He didn't speak, just held out the box. I reached for it. He grabbed my wrist, not hard, just enough that I felt the cold, colder than the air around us. His grip was like holding a dead fish, clammy and limp, and then he said, in a voice like cracked glass, no stopping, no speaking, no questioning, deliver it or become it. He pressed the box into my hands, turned and got into the van. It disappeared down the road without headlights. I should have dropped it right there, thrown it in the river, burned it, but my hands, they wouldn't let go. I got back into my car and opened the GPS coordinates they sent me. No address, just the pin, miles away, into the woods. I drove past the city limits, past the suburbs, down cracked back roads that hadn't seen tarmac in decades. The trees got thicker, the air colder, and by the time I reached the drop-off point, my fingers were numb on the steering wheel. There was no building, just a dirt path leading into the woods. A sign next to it, half rotten and barely legible, read, "Welcome to Silent Hollow." The path twisted through the trees, moonlight barely touched the ground. The deeper I went, the quieter it got, until even my own footsteps sounded muted. Then the woods opened into a clearing, and they were waiting for me. At least a dozen figures, standing in a perfect circle, each one wearing animal masks, crude, homemade things. Goats, foxes, owls, wolves. Their clothes were mismatched, old, torn. They didn't move, they didn't speak, just stood there, breathing slowly, in perfect synchronization. In the center of the circle was a stone table, old, covered in dark stains. A woman knelt beside it, head bowed, hands tied behind her back. The masked figures parted, made a gap for me, like they'd been expecting me. I stepped forward, unable to stop myself. My legs moved on their own. Every instinct screamed to run, but my body didn't listen. I placed the package on the stone and stepped back. The tallest figure, wearing a deer mask, approached the table. They slit the package open with a curved knife. Inside, not money, not drugs, not anything human. It was a second mask, made out of flesh, still bleeding, still twitching. The deer mask figure lifted the flesh mask and placed it gently over the woman's bowed head. She shuddered, convulsed, and then went still. When she lifted her head, her eyes were wrong, milky, shimmering, hollow. She smiled, and in my voice, my exact voice, she whispered, "Thank you for your service." I turned and ran, faster than I thought was possible, back through the woods, the path twisted under my feet. Back to my car. I didn't look back, didn't stop until I was home, doors locked, blinds drawn. The money was in my account by morning, more than promised, more than enough, but it wasn't worth it, because now I see them everywhere. People with faces just slightly wrong, too smooth, too symmetrical, wearing clothes just a little out of fashion, watching, waiting, and sometimes, when I catch them in the corner of my eye, they're still wearing those masks. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it, but last night, when I looked into the mirror, my face was gone, and something was smiling underneath it.